Hi, this is Derek here doing a review for HorrorNerds.com of the very famous and now perhaps legendary horror movie Scream. It was released in 1996, written by Kevin Williamson, directed by Wes Craven, starring Neve Campbell, Rose McGowan, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox, among others, and of course the Fonz, but he bit it, so we won't really delve too much into his involvement in the role. Anyways, I really like this movie. For me, it was as if it was like watching Dawson's Creek, basically, only the horror movie version. In other words, all the characters are very self-aware. There's a lot of in-jokes, very much a play on the idea of what a horror movie has been up to that point in American history. It makes sense because Kevin Williamson wrote it, and he's also the writer of Dawson's Creek, among many other things. And does this movie work? Yes. Even now, I just recently watched it and felt it was still holding up its standards. It has a nice level of tension to the whole entire film, despite it being so ironic in places and jokey and things like that. It works basically because, and I know this is a review, but basically it works because this movie was set up to be reviewed, if that makes sense. In other words, when the producers and obviously when Kevin Williamson were making this film, they had in mind this idea that, you know, American audiences have watched since, you know, Halloween came out, the same repeated formula. Slasher goes on killing spree, ends the life of many different teenagers who were completely unsuspecting, except for that one in the group who happens to be a martial artist and takes out the killer in some kind of way, or finds the weakness, and you know the rest. You've seen a million videos to that effect. And, you know, in much to Williamson's credit, in the 90s, there were many horror movies that were now just getting straight to video because they were so bad in quality and just the same formula, just beaten to death. If anything, major motion picture studios were obviously capitalizing on the movies that had come out before, which were successful at that time, and so they were just, you know, buying up rights to sequels and showing them as much as possible. Very much a practice that we're still seeing today with recent remakes, such as the likes of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, and, you know, I'm sure Child's Play will be coming soon as well. But in any event, Scream takes all that and sort of flips it on its own. Because of the self-awareness, as an audience member, you're sort of allowed to enjoy the fact that it is two dudes, you know, going on a killing spree. The lack of motivation is also an interesting twist. You know, there's always some kind of huge backstory, and yes, we do get that in the second and third and even fourth installments of Scream, but this movie sort of just says, hey, you know what, we just wanted to kill. We just wanted to be famous. You know, we just wanted to do something that would be different from the normal everyday society. Why not pick, you know, Sidney Prescott and her tortured family past and make it work? And it does. But the only thing is, Sidney Prescott wasn't going to go down so easily, you know, and with the help of her friends and stuff, you know, who unfortunately had to bite the bullet before she did. Well, actually, she didn't, but you know what I mean. She almost did. I think that, you know, you're having fun while you're watching these murders. And granted, Wes Craven did go through a lot to get even what gore is displayed on the big screen, because admittedly he wanted much more, as did Kevin Williamson, I suppose. The way he wrote the script was 10 times more brutal and graphic from what I understand. But, you know, thanks to our wonderful saviors at the MPAA who think that we can't see stuff like that, it was toned down considerably. But nevertheless, still plenty of blood, plenty of gore splatter, and certainly if you are interested in that sort of thing, more so than a plot perhaps, it doesn't fail to deliver. There's a killing, you know, Jesus, I think every 10-15 minutes in the film. It comes out to about that. But never, you know, what really works for me more than anything on this film is that it was just smart. The dialogue was good. The characters weren't as dumb as every other character in a horror movie. Even at the beginning, when Drew Barrymore was killed, you know, she did a tit for tat with the killers, you know, on the phone, and basically sort of held her own until, you know, seeing her boyfriend gutted in the chair, and then that's when things just escalated completely out of control, and understandably so. But, you know, she did her best to try to, you know, kind of put the killers into place on the phone, and even right there I could tell this movie was different. It was special. It was going to be what we've seen before, but at the same time not what we've seen before. And that's been the earmark of all the Scream movies. They've tried, in some cases unsuccessfully, I'm thinking more of Scream 3 when I say that, to imitate and repeat their own formula, their own mythology, their own pattern of killing and slayings by being completely self-aware in the process. But they do it so perfectly well in this film because it was new, it was fresh, and then, like I said, even now it stands the test of time. 4 movies later, or 3 movies later after this, you know, does it still stand the test? One can argue that. We'll just have to wait and see how it all pans out, you know, in the future. But for now, Scream is definitely one of the essential horror movies to be watching. If you love horror, it's something you shouldn't pass up, and definitely worth the time to watch. And go get it now, especially if you haven't seen it for some god-awful reason. Go rent, or even if you have, re-rent it, enjoy it. Because I certainly did just by popping it in the other day and saying what the heck, you know, and it was fun. It was a good time. So I think that's a good mark of any great film. It should be able to do that, and Scream does it without fail. So this has been a review for HorrorNerds.com. Hope you enjoyed it, and check out all the other great reviews here. We'll talk to you soon.